Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom.
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Christopher, it's me. I'm in Silent Hill. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Sharon's lost, but I think I know where she is, so I'm going to school to look for her.
Hello and welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show, to the DVD and Blu-ray section. Coming up in this show, we have a look at the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 and reviews of...
We have Margin Call, a huge massive ensemble cast, but do not switch off because it's an ensemble cast that works, unlike what Steven Soderbergh likes to do with his films. In Margin Call, I nearly forgot to say the name of the film there. Then we have Cosmopolis, which stars Robert Pattinson, and it's directed by David Cronenberg. It's an interesting film. And we'll review Excision, which I reviewed last week, just to find out what Andy thinks of it. And then Friends with Kids, your typical romantic comedy kind of film. And the DVD alternative is Open Range. Did I remember right?
Yep. Before that, though, we were going to go straight into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10.
Yeah, at number 10, Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yeah, which is just in there for obvious reasons, because Twilight Saga is Breaking Dawn Part 2 is about to come out, and during that week then I will be walking around with like earbuds and stuff so that I cannot hear all the women screaming when they go running into the cinemas and it's Twilight. See, my voice is just getting really worse because of the fact that it just heard me trying to say the word Twilight.
I think Andy's gonna die by the end of tonight's show. At number 9, Supernatural Season 7, the new entry.
We don't really cover television shows, but I love this show personally myself. I think it's one of the best shows, been around for a while. So if you're into Supernatural, check it out. I mean, you can generally get it for about £25, which isn't bad for a full series now.
Yeah, number 8, sort of like re-entry / new entry for Peter Pan.
Jumping up from last week's position was 144. I have no idea why it's jumped up, because all the Disney offers are finished. The buy one get one free is no longer on, so I don't know why. But the original Disney classic animation of Peter Pan, it's making its re-entry.
Yeah, I just laughed at that comment by Minuteman in the chat. Twilight is for emotionally stunted teenage girls with no brains. Lovely. That's Minuteman's idea, not ours. Number 7,
but
Red
it's kind
Tails.
of endorsed by us.
Yeah, it is. We sponsor it.
Red Tails, which is just a horribly terrible film, produced by Steven Spielberg, and may as well have been directed by him, because it's just like his kind of film.
George Lucas.
Sorry, George Lucas. I should be slapped for that one. That was awful. Really bad. Overlooked that one. Yes, George Lucas, not Steven Spielberg. It's just awful film about the during World War II, when the first African American group of fighters were then a group of pilots were given fighters and a squadron, which it's just really awful, predictable, boring. The flight sequences are completely boring when they should be interesting and exciting, and it's just. And there's like things that happen in the character. Like I guarantee you, if you tell me who you think's going to die in the first 10 minutes, you're probably right.
Yeah, and the fact that George Lucas funded the entirety of the film.
Yeah,
shows you how much of a loon pot he actually is, and I'm glad that he has actually sold Lucasfilms.
How much money has he got now? He can finance as many films as he wants.
Very true, but he's going to have to create his own company again.
That's not going to be very hard with that much money.
True. At number 6, a new entry for Mad Men Series 5.
Again, a television series which we don't really cover, but I haven't seen Mad Men. I've still got to try and sort of get hold of it, but everyone is ranting and raving about it being a brilliant show and one of the best ones it's been in recent years.
Yeah, number 5, Prometheus.
Which I really enjoyed. Stuart, I think, really enjoyed as well.
Yes.
A lot of people have hang-ups about it because it's an alien film that's not an alien film. It's Ridley Scott returning to the alien universe, but more looking into the whole thing of who the pilot of the alien ship was and where his story sort of goes.
Yeah, if you've read the original idea for what Prometheus was before Damon Lindelof was brought in to rewrite it, the guy who did the Darkest Hour, who wrote the screenplay for that, he originally wrote it, and his idea was to include things like aliens and facehuggers. Yeah. And I'm sort of glad they didn't go down that route. I'm sort of glad, in a way, after you've seen it a second time and you've got the alien idea out of your head, then it does sort of like become its own film rather than being a part of the alien universe, but it will seep into that. And I'm glad they've decided to take at least one film to explore something different rather than seep it into a universe that already exists.
And just a note for anyone who hasn't got it yet but is considering buying it on Blu-ray, if you want all the extras, buy the 3D version because it comes with an extra disc of stuff, including a 3.5-hour long documentary about the making of it, which is really quite interesting to see. If you like that kind of thing, you get the 2D version as well, so don't worry, you're not going to just have a version of the film you can't watch, but it's worth it for all the extra features if you want them.
And you covered the extra features, didn't you, for Following the Nerds? So
yeah.
I think you can find that piece still up on their site. Just search for that. Did you put it up on our site?
I didn't know.
Bad person. I was going to say it's a fantastic read, but now I'm going to say it's shocking. Don't read it. At number 4, the London 2012 Olympic Games.
You're showing like reverse favouritism there. Yeah, I mean, what more is there to say? The London 2012 Olympic Games, including the opening and closing ceremonies, all on. I don't know how many discs it is. I'm guessing it's more than one disc.
5
discs. But I mean, personally, I'm not interested really. I admit everyone's achievements and everything's great, but why would I want to sit and watch all that? You know.
Yeah, very true. Number 3. Mrs. Brown's Boys Series 2.
Which is one I don't like, haven't watched it, avoided it, and won't be buying it. So that's enough said.
Number 2, New Entry for Downton Abbey Series 3.
Another one I haven't watched. I'm just not interested in it. I don't go particularly for a lot of the period dramas. So it's got a big following, and that's why it's gone in at number 2 in its opening week.
Huge, massive following. It does insane numbers for ITV1. And at number 1, a new entry for Men in Black 3.
Which is a film that you will either like or hate, depending on your view. I kind of liked it. I didn't think it was brilliant, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was better than the second one. It's got a great performance in it from Josh Brolin as the younger Agent K, who's played by Tommy Lee Jones, which is one of the things that the saving graces of it. It's a bit sort of average, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we have somebody who likes the Mrs. Brown's Boys series, and that's Minuteman. He thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah, but he likes the OC, so I mean, enough said.
Yeah, very true. Before we go into reviews, just mention at number 28, Killer Joe. I forgot to mention it at the top of the chart.
Yes, you people out there, you disgust me. How can you only put this film to number 28? Downton Abbey series 1 to 3 got it at number 27. It got beaten by Downton Abbey series 1 to 3 box set. It got beaten by Men in Black 1 to 3 box set at 25. It got beaten by Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 at 24, which has been out for 28 weeks or something like that. It got beaten by Snow White and the Huntsman, which is at number 23. And I will go on and on, except for the fact that if I do, I'm going to end up sounding like Liam Neeson by the end of tonight.
Okay, you actually sound like you're straining for something. I'll not go there, but yeah, Killer Joe is definitely one of William Friedkin's best films. I'm not a fan of his. He was the person who was responsible for things like The Exorcist, and one of his last films he did was Bug, which is an awful film. But this film is it's a really intense movie, and
it is in my best 10 of the year, people. Check out this film or miss it at your peril. It's a dark film. It is a strong film, but it's a great film.
Yeah, it should have been, even if it was just in the top 10, we would have been happy.
Yeah.
That's all we want. Just get it in the top 10.
Katy Perry, Part of Me, is on its heels at number 32. It deserves more than 4 spaces distance from that tepid piece of awful rubbish.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Okay, last week we had a competition which unfortunately we don't have the clip to play again this week, but it was a clip which was from a film. We asked you to identify what the clip was. The clip involved a November 5th applicable clip, which was the whole thing of November. What was it again? I've forgotten now. I'm just completely lost it. Lost the plot.
Yeah, why don't you just announce the winner?
Remember the 5th of November.
Yeah,
so
it was the plot.
Yes, exactly. And drum roll, please.
Worst drum roll ever.
Yeah, it sounds like the drummer's rather drunk.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear this.
That was better. The winner, Slater, which is from Twitter, SLLAYT3R. You have won yourself a copy of V for Vendetta on DVD, sir. So get in touch with us, send us your details so we can arrange getting that sent out to you sometime this week. So moving on to tonight's reviews, let's go straight into our first review, which is Margin Call, directed by and written by J.C. Chandor. It's a story about the financial collapse of Wall Street that happened in the mid-2000s. When the banks all had a crisis, which was stemmed essentially from one bank, which this is based on. In the movie, you have a fantastic cast, including Kevin Spacey, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons. You have Stanley Tucci and Zachary Quinto, who Stanley Tucci, as the movie starts, is amongst the latest of a group of people who are being laid off in the film. And as he's leaving the building, he is the senior risk management in the risk management department, who, as he's being laid off and escorted from the building, hands a USB stick to his junior colleague, played by Zachary Quinto, warning him to be careful, take a look at it, and try and figure out this thing he's been trying to work on. And lo and behold, when Zachary Quinto's character looks into things, he makes a rather startling discovery. Here's a clip.
Eric gave me this file before he left.
Eric?
Dale, and he told me that he couldn't quite figure it out, and the last thing he said to me before the elevator doors closed was, "Be careful."
He said, "Be careful"?
Yeah, so obviously I'm a little curious. I start to get into it a little bit, and I realize that the only thing that he's missed, it's just not good, Will.
Right, okay, so what is he doing here?
No, go to Model 4. It makes more sense.
Okay. All right. What is this?
This is basically everything that we have in our books at any given time. But what Eric was trying to do was to work these numbers for levels of volatility that fall outside of the standard VAR model.
What are those levels?
It's fairly complicated.
Simplify it.
The volatility levels are set using historic patterns, basically, and then stretching those patterns out another 10-15% roughly.
All right, so?
So we are starting to test those historic patterns.
When?
Today?
Tuesday.
Monday, last Friday and Wednesday.
Two Fridays ago.
All right, I get it.
So all hell breaks loose when this projected analysis means that all the money and things, all the sort of stocks and things they're holding on their books, if they do decrease, which seems to be the going trend at the moment, by as little as 25%, the total value of their losses will be more than the entire value of the company. Which means that there's a big meeting brought in, including the head of the company, the CEO, played by Jeremy Irons, who then makes a decision of what they're going to do to try and resolve this, which led to one of the biggest financial disasters in history. The thing about Margin Call is that it's a drama. It's got a great cast there. As I said, we've also got in there, you've got... who else is there? I mean, you've got Simon Baker, who a lot of people will know from the TV series The Mentalist. You've got Demi Moore in there as well. All lots of great actors. Not all of them got big parts, but they all do their part, which is a fantastic actor piece. Great thing, and the thing is, you don't need to be into the financial system. You don't need to have the know-how of it. It's well explained, but it's simplified for everyone, so you have a complete understanding of what's going on. It's hard to lose where you are in this film and what's going on. It just makes for a fantastic character piece with all these characters panicking and deciding, oh, what we're going to do, we're going to do this, and the ramifications of what they're doing and realising what they're doing, which is just, again, and I know I keep saying this is one of the films that is in my best 10 of the year. And so we've got a lot of these films out now that are great dramas, not action, not comedy, great dramas, making for a thoroughly engrossing watch. It's not 2 hours long, so it's not going to be his film that's going to take ages to get through. And I guarantee you, it's going to feel shorter because it's such a great film.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it'll be in my top 10 of the year because I've seen probably more films which I've liked more. But there is a chance that it might be in our combined list when we combine our lists together, because obviously I'll have a few more obscure films in my top 10.
Would you say it's likely to be in your top 15?
Yes, it will be in my top 15, because the fact that it surprised me how brilliant it is. The acting by everybody, even somebody who's in a bit part, for instance Demi Moore, who only crops up in the film for no more than 10 minutes, but she's still really good in the film. It's written with such brilliance that the person who wrote it and the director who directed it is getting everything out of the actor, even if they're on the screen a very short period of time. Everybody is on their ear game in this movie. It's brilliantly directed and it's brilliantly done. But it's the fact that when you hear a movie that's all about the economy, you sort of switch off. But you need to watch this film because it'll change your mind completely. It's a really well directed, well made film. I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, so moving on to the next review of the evening.
Yeah, which I did not enjoy this a lot at all because I was confused from minute 1 to minute end. It's Cosmopolis. It's directed by David Cronenberg, who's, in my opinion, he's a director who's gone downhill since the 80s. The 80s was sort of like his time when he did films like The Fly, which I love The Fly. I think it's a fantastic film. And then he decided to go into the controversial area with things like Crash. And he did Existence as well, which is not too bad. But he's a director who I don't hold highly. And it's got Robert Pattinson in it, who plays Eric Parker. And the film itself couldn't have the most simplest plot ever. Eric Parker is a guy who has a huge, massive limousine. He's rich beyond doubt, but he's losing money constantly because he makes bad decisions on the stock market. And he wants to go and get his haircut in barbers that's across the city of Los Angeles when the president has come to visit. Here's a clip just to sort of like give you a taster of what the film is like.
Any special reason we're in the car instead of the office?
What makes you think we're in the car instead of the office?
If I answer that question...
Based on what premise?
I know I'll say something that's halfway clever, but mostly shallow, and probably inaccurate on some level. And then you will pity me for having been born.
We're in the car because I need a haircut.
So have the barber go to the office, get your haircut there. Or have the barber come to your car. Just get your haircut and go to the office.
A haircut has what? Associations. Calendar on the wall. Mirrors everywhere. There's no barber chair here. Nothing swivels but the chair you're in, Shiner.
So, like I said, the whole premise of the film is just about him getting his haircut. Obviously, there is things that happen during the film itself, because it can't just be about somebody getting a haircut if you've got a film that's on for 2 hours. And evidently it is. He constantly has prostitutes in his car, one of them played by Julia Binoche. He gets a medical checkup in this limousine as well, and he occasionally leaves this limousine. It gets vandalized during one conversation with Samantha Morton's character, and he near to the end of the film he runs into Paul Giamatti, where it's sort of like he ends up shooting himself in the hand, which is just stupid. And the film itself is mind-numbingly confusing because you don't know what the hell is going on. The conversations are either questions or it's either just them babbling about things that sentences don't even have structures. They don't even have proper structures together. They're like 20-minute conversations where they're yabbering on about stupid things, which could things from the stock market to just easily him getting his haircut or what his father was like, and they make no sense whatsoever. It's a really strange, weird movie which might have worked as a 10-minute short, but as a film that's on for nearly 2 hours, you're scratching your head during it thinking, how the hell did this get made? Because Robert Pattinson is not bad. He's sort of like stoic through the entire film. He has one facial look and that's it. so he's not too bad. But it's just David Cronenberg, just him going, look at me, I'm a brilliant director, I can do whatever the hell I want. No, you can't. You're an idiot. Just direct a normal standard film. Go back to your body horror rather than stupid, mindless, mind-numbing movies like this. Stop making them.
I enjoyed that. I have to agree. It's completely just, it doesn't go anywhere. Is a problem with it, and the dialogue, as you said, is just completely sentences that don't make any sense, which is just awful. It's just impossible to follow.
Yeah, even the guy who speaks backwards on Twin Peaks makes more sense than this film.
Oh, we're not going into Twin Peaks now. We're just not doing that.
David Lynch is normal compared to this movie, and that's saying something. He's gaga cuckoo.
Okay, I'm going to go on to Excision, which is a small budget film. It's directed by and written by Richard Bates Jr. It stars Annalyn McCord as Pauline, who is a teenager. She's in high school. She's kind of a bit of a weird kid, odd sort of. She doesn't really have many friends, doesn't really get on with a lot of people. She's really withdrawn and sort of doesn't get on with her mother and her father and her little sister. Her mother played by Tracy Lords, her father played by Roger Bart. The whole thing of she's going to school and just sitting there and a lot of time fantasizing about, she has these sort of daydreams and fantasizing sort of delusions about killing people in very sort of, and death of people in very graphic, gory and bloodied ways that are, it's really bizarre.
Hard to describe?
Yes, graphic.
Now you see the problem I had with trying to describe this movie last week. And
the whole thing is just this really weird. I mean, there's a scene where someone is being eviscerated on a table, and it's a delusion, but she's sitting there basically, and someone is being eviscerated, and she's just doing it, and it's kind of like a weird sort of, why are you watching this? Because why is she seeing this sort of thing?
It's like stepping into the sadomasochistic world of Alice. Yeah, if Alice was completely insane, that's her world.
It's really bizarre. It's the whole this thing about her and how she's withdrawn and what she has issues about and her relationship with her parents and all, which then leads to her looking to do something which then builds to something later in the film, which I won't go into. The thing is, it's not a bad film, but it's not particularly good either. It's just kind of borderline average, and it is a small film. You can tell that just from the way it looks and the way it's shot. Annalyn McCord is really good in it. It's a weird role. She's a weird actress in it. She looks weird, and she plays it really sort of stoic and sullen. And the whole thing of it is that it's, if you think back 20, 30 years ago, the kind of movie that a young I forgot the name, Winona Ryder, young Winona Ryder kind of film. This is essentially that kind of a film set nowadays when films are more tolerable of gore and things. And it's, if you like those kind of films that kind of, I wouldn't say horror, but gory. I don't know. It's not horror exactly.
It's horror down to the horrific nature of what you've seen on screen, rather than horror down to the scary kind of nature which you expect from films like
It's
Nightmare on Elm Street or Hellraiser.
It's like a dramatic horror. It's not just.
It's
horror.
a human horror, as I like to call them.
But it's decent performances. It is fairly watchable. It's not long, although it does feel longer than its 81 minutes running time for me, which it kind of stretches out itself a bit too much. But if you like that kind of thing, then give it a check because you probably enjoy it. Me personally, I would give it a miss because it's not my sort of thing. But it's not bad, but it's not brilliant either. It's not great.
Yeah, it's for fans of films like Mia and Dead Girl and things like that. It's these small, like, in a way, experimental horror films rather than the standard horror that people are used to. It's what sort of like America tries to do with films. A few directors in America, because they've got a small budget, try to do something different with movies. There's a film coming out very soon called American Mary, directed by the Saskia sisters, which I'm really looking forward to, because their last film they did was called Dead Hooker in a Trunk, which perfectly explains what the film is like. So it's that kind of movie. It's a small budget horror film, but with the budget that they've got, they try to do a bit more experimental with the movie. And so if you're into that kind of film, then it's perfect for you. It's an interesting idea, but it does lose itself for the fact that everything else around the main character is boring, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. Friends with Kids, another film which has got a very simple storyline. It's directed by Jennifer Westfeldt, who also wrote this, and supposedly it's based on her life. It's her directorial debut as well, and what it does, it centres around two people, Jennifer Westfeldt and Adam Scott's character, who plays Jason. And they are sort of like two friends who live together at first, and they decide to have a baby because all of the rest of their friends, who are couples, have got children. One couple played by Maya Rudolph and Chris O'Dowd. You might as well say it, they get on each other's nerves a lot. They seem to have a lot of arguments with each other. And then you've got the other couple played by John Hamm and Kristen Wiig, who play Ben and Missy again. Those two, during the film itself, sort of like get on each other a lot less. And these two, Jennifer Westfeldt character and Jason Fryman's character, they decide to have a kid without the attachment of marriage. They just decide to have one as friends. So they split all the responsibilities down half, 50-50, so they pay for their half of the thing, but they both sort of like keep custody of the child. And he ends off getting and establishes a relationship with this girl who he runs into one day in the park, played by Megan Fox. Here's a clip.
What about you, Mary Jane? Do you want to have kids?
Oh, God, no. I mean, it's amazing for you guys, and you're all doing such a good job, and you're happy, and it makes sense, but I'm like a gypsy. I do 8 shows a week, and I'm never home, and I have to be able to leave town on a moment's notice, and honestly, I've just never had the urge. And I really enjoy my freedom, so.
She does.
I do.
You like your freedom.
I like it.
So during the film, while the other couples are sort of like thriving in a way, both Julia's and Jason's sort of like start to crumble around them once they've had a kid, because they think it's a brilliant idea, them having a kid as friends. But their relationship starts to crumble, and they start to drift apart even further when they both have relationships with different people. Now, the film itself is billed as a sort of like a Bridesmaid-esque kind of comedy, even though this was written before Bridesmaids, but it's come out after Bridesmaids because of the success of what that film did. It's not very funny at all. There is one scene in the movie which I did laugh, which I can't mention on here because it's not suitable. But the rest of the film is not funny. It's way too long. It's an idea which probably suits a 30-minute episode of like Sex and the City or something of that ilk. But that's all. It can't support a 2-hour film. It just can't. No matter who you get as actors or actresses to play the characters, even including Chris O'Dowd, who's the best thing about Bridesmaids. And he's not the best thing about this because his character just doesn't have much oomph behind them. None of the characters are interested in this film at all, especially Jennifer Westfeldt, who can't act. Her character is bland. It's bland. Even Megan Fox is better than her, and that's saying something. She can't act. She has a problem with writing because, like I said, she's got an idea which might have lasted half an hour and stretches it out to 2 hours, which doesn't work at all. So it's sort of, in a way, a bad sign for her. Even if you do like romantic comedies, I don't think you'll enjoy this that much because there is a lot of banter between the characters, but it's a lot of sexual swearing banter, and it's not very funny at all. And especially the last scene in the film, which you can find on YouTube, and the conversation that they have in the last 2 minutes of the movie is ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. I don't think people would actually have that kind of conversation. But you can check it out on YouTube, and honestly, it's pointless. And the film itself is just boring. It's not very good at all.
Okay, so we'll round up the night with the DVD alternative this week, which is Open Range. It's from 2003, so it's almost 10 years old, which is really surprising thinking about it. It's directed by Kevin Costner. So before you sort of run away going, oh no, Kevin Costner directed a film again, and wait and just listen, because it's based on a book by Lauren Payne. It's a Western film about a couple of sort of cattle ranchers who, back in the old days, they have their cattle sort of free ranging on grazing on just like open fields and stuff. They don't have them penned in or anything, and they then start to have problems with the local sort of the guy who runs the local town, played by Michael Gambon. So Kevin Costner's character and Robert Duvall, who's his partner, their characters end up having to sort of try and deal with that in the town, trying to sort of deal with it diplomatically. One of their kind of employees, a young boy, is injured, and so has to then be treated by the town's doctor, whose sister is played by Annette Bening, and the two of Annette Bening's character and Kevin Costner have this sort of little romance sort of building, while at the meantime tensions rise between them, the boys, and Michael Gambon's character, leading up to a sort of a showdown at the end. It's a long film because it's more than 2 hours in length, just 2 hours and 19 minutes. But it's one of these great sort of westerns movies that really builds and builds and builds to a really satisfying and entertaining conclusion. Great performances in it throughout. I mean, surprisingly, from Kevin Costner as a guy who has a past, but it's not really explained, and he's always he doesn't want to explain it, which really works for his character. Robert Duvall is just great, as well as this sort of the old timer who's doing what he does to get by, but then has to sort of find himself stepping up in this situation. Michael Gambon is a bit wasted in it because he's not in it as much, other than being this sort of Irish kind of wannabe gangster that runs the town. Is sort of, this is my town, get out kind of thing. And a real great sort of setting as well, with a little town that's been built for the film, which just all suits and comes together brilliantly. Costner, I have no problem with Costner as a director, and this is again a great piece for him as a director and a great piece as an actor. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. If you like westerns, you'll love it. So that's the show for this week. Thank you for joining us live, as several of you guys have. If not, thank you for listening to us on the catch-up through the site or through iTunes or YouTube, whichever one you're listening to. You can always find us on Facebook. Just search for the Monday Movie Show. You can contact us at Monday Movie Show on Twitter. I'm on there as at AHDVD. Stuart is on there as at Cryptic Tadpole. And our mondaymovieshow.co.uk website, where you can always check out the latest information. We get some written reviews up on there as well, so you can check out those and look through the history and catch up.
We can be bothered. Well, when I can be bothered anyway.
Catch up on some shows that you may have missed, because we've got a show on there from every week going back to almost every week going back just over a year. So plenty of options there for you to listen. So thank you for listening again, as I say. Until next Monday at 7:30. We hope you've enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed doing the show. And until then, good night.
Yeah, and before we go, because we always seem to end off doing this, we always forget to say something. Don't forget to tune in to Following the Nerd every Thursday night. Check out their website, followingthenerd.com. We are also part of the Podgods, which I have no clue about their site, so the Podgods were a part of them. If you know them, then whoopee. And I also did a show with them, sort of like another show called From Page to Screen. Seek out their show on iTunes. I was speaking a lot about European films, and even went into the history of films a little bit, and ranted a little bit. So my idea of a rant is probably a few hours, but the show wasn't that long. I think Stuart, who hosts the show, cut it down a lot.
Also, just before we go, well, to make everyone aware that this Wednesday you are doing another show.
Oh yeah,
from here.
I forgot about that.
For the is it like a I can't remember what it's called now. Sort of a best of British sort of thing.
Yeah, what I'm doing is I was on Stuart, who did From Page to Screen. He did a British special. He does a British special of his show, and I'm going to do a British special of this show on Wednesday night at 8:00, and I'm going to have him on it because he knows a lot about British films. And so we're going to speak to him about the state of the British industry and what kind of films we seem to have produced over the years and why we seem too reliant on things like gritty dramas rather than trying to branch out and do more things with British films. So that'll be 8:00 on Wednesday night.
So again, until next Monday at 7:30, because I won't be here Wednesday. And enjoy your week, enjoy your films, and don't forget to check out Margin Call.
Yep.
Can you believe we forgot? Oh, I forgot Movie of the Week as well, again.
I'm glad you didn't mention Movie of the Week, considering I went off on 2 rants.
Okay. If it's not Margin Call, which one is it for you?
Margin Call.
You don't want to go for people like us.
No, Margin Call.
Or Cosmopolis.
No, Margin Call.
Or Friends with Kids.
Margin Call. Let's end it there.
Margin Call, I agree, but if you're going to go see something at the cinema, I'll see Argo, because that's fantastic as well.
Yeah, Margin